In a shocking scene that will likely go down as one of the most humiliating public moments for the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle completely fell apart emotionally after being mercilessly booed and heckled off stage by an irate crowd during her marquee speech in Nigeria's largest city earlier today. What had been billed as a celebratory visit aimed at boosting Her Royal Highness' global philanthropic profile devolved into a nationally televised PR nightmare for the 41-year-old former American actress. Mere minutes into delivering her prepared remarks at Lagos' Tafawa Balewa Square public venue, the mother of two was reduced to tears and ultimately chased from the stage altogether by a raucous torrent of jeering and profane chants from sections of the disgruntled audience. "Boo! Get off the stage, you racist wife," rang out some of the more family-friendly refrains in the overflow crowd's unexpected heckling onslaught against Markle as she delivered remarks intended to rally Nigerian grassroots organizations. "We don't want you colonial puppets speaking for Africa anymore, you are the racist. Go back to Britain and rest now." According to multiple witnesses as well as video footage of the shocking incident circulating online, it all started when the former Suits star arrived at the public outdoor rally nearly half an hour late to deliver her keynote speech. Having already stood for hours under the scorching midday Lagos sun waiting for Meghan to take the stage, sections of the increasingly restless audience began openly heckling almost immediately upon her appearance behind the podium. "We're sorry, everybody, for the delay with my arrival today," Markle's speech began through the first chorus of boos and green tomato projectiles arcing skywards from the back seating sections. What was meant to be just a minor meeting got regrettably sidetracked over a few remaining logistical. But any further explanation or greeting was unceremoniously drowned out by a sudden thunderous roar of jeers and catcalls condemning the Duchess as an unwelcome symbol of British colonial oppression throughout the African continent, with entire contingents of irate locals turning their backs while unleashing loud chants like "Neo-colonialist, go away." I know many of you must be feeling anger and frustration at the long shadows of history and baggage weighing down today's modern institutions, Markle attempted to reason as a metal beverage canister came whizzing through her direction. But that's precisely why we're here now, gathered as one people seeking shared hopes. But any further diplomatic entreaties from the beleaguered Duchess fell upon deaf ears, as the majority of the outdoor crowd erupted into riotous pandemonium, raining everything from produce scraps and plastic water bottles to sandals, clothing items and even small rocks hailing across the stage vicinity. Through the chaos, one emboldened heckler even managed to successfully scale the security perimeter and approach within a dozen yards of Markle's podium before being roughly tackled by royal protection officers. "You speak the language of tolerance while consigning Nigeria to endless debt slavery under the Queen's bloody economic yoke," the unidentified activist shouted at Meghan Markle as he was pinned to the ground, still defiant yet intercepted before getting much closer. "We reject your empty platitudes and false tears. No more lies and exploitation, not in our kingdom." For several harrowing minutes, by witness accounts, the Duchess of Sussex bravely attempted to continue addressing the overriding tumult and projectile barrage with grace, all while sheltering herself behind the bolt-hole slits of the bulletproof podium. At one particularly distressing point caught on camera, Markle can be seen pleading for calm with tears beginning to well. "Please, everyone, I'm simply trying to listen and lend the microphone to local grassroots voices sidelined for two," she tries reasoning with the mob, only to cut off once more by another wave of furious chanting. "Liar. Colonial stooge. You're the voice of oppression." Any hopes of restoring order and allowing the Duchess to complete her intended speech, however, appeared utterly extinguished after alleged clips surfaced online within the jeering crowd appearing to show Markle wincing and grabbing her lower abdomen after an unknown object struck her in the midsection area. While some observers questioned the authenticity of the video, many others in attendance pointed to her increasingly bewildered and distressed disposition, hinting at genuine discomfort, if not injury. Whether accurate or not, the allegations of an assault upon the beloved wife of Prince Harry appeared to accelerate security's already urgent determination to extract the Duchess of Sussex to safety as swiftly as possible. Just minutes later, bombshell footage captured Markle being practically carried away from the wreckage of a stage, overwhelmed and demolished by hurled debris while clinging to her protection detail through heaving sobs. "Get that colonialist B***TCH out of my motherland. Back to your white supremacist palace, you spoiled brat," a particularly defiant voice could be heard screaming as the disheveled royal was finally spirited through the frothing agitator gauntlet. In the aftermath of such an unprecedented public humiliation for a senior member of the British royal family, outrage across the Commonwealth and throughout Africa over the riots ignited political fault lines across the region. Some local officials and cultural critics blasted the mob's behavior as an abhorrent lack of respect and decorum unfitting to protesters with legitimate grievances, while others seized upon it as poetic retribution for centuries of colonial subjugation from Britain, and the latest example of resistance against the entire westernized global order. I don't care what anybody says about this Meghan woman. Her tears are no less than the requisite penance still owed by every single descendant of British aristocracy for the slavery and genocides inflicted upon my ancestors by the Crown, African historian and activist Bemisola Amusan told the BBC following the chaotic event. The only shame here is that it took this long for the Commonwealth to see through the falsehoods of this family's empty racial reconciliation pageantry, while continuing to funnel the continent's resources into their offshore cabal coffers. No wonder Her Highness was driven from the stage sobbing and shaking. She deserved far worse of a reckoning. But domestic political forces within Nigeria were equally quick to distance themselves from culpability in Markle being subjected to such a threatening exhibition of rioting vitriol by her own civilian audiences. Not only did the ruling administration of President Bola Tinubu call the attacks on the Duchess an inexcusable breach of national honor, they launched an immediate federal investigation probing for connections to known local insurrectionist movements or foreign adversaries seeking to destabilize civic order. Rest assured, any seditious individuals or armed groups deliberately undermining this country's highest levels of royal diplomatic hospitality will soon find themselves swiftly prosecuted and imprisoned under the fullest extents of Nigerian law, thundered Tinubu during his emergency primetime address shortly after the riots. This afternoon's combustible chaos represents an egregious stain upon Nigeria's global reputation, all from a contemptible few willing to dishonor us on the world stage while cravenly hiding among society's most vulnerable. But if President Tinubu and the federal government believed taking such a hard stance against the rioters themselves would be enough to satiate the diplomatic fallout from the British Commonwealth, they were sorely mistaken. Because by Monday morning, Buckingham Palace had already issued an official response from His Majesty King Charles III, and it left little to the imagination denouncing Nigeria's security preparation as woefully inadequate, while demanding swift accountability. The ruling family is appalled by the grievous attack inflicted upon the Duchess of Sussex, whose dignity remained wholly intentional throughout the unjust aura of hostility upon visiting your nation, reads the extraordinary statement from Charles, leaving no question of finger-pointing toward the Nigerian government. Not since the horrific Aberfan disaster of 1966 has a dearer member of the royal family been subjected to so much sickening persecutions of inhumanity. Only through prayer was Her Royal Highness ultimately delivered from such abhorrent grounds of residence. But the king's terse words seemingly reserved their most unvarnished ire for the perpetrators who dared threaten his beloved daughter-in-law to begin.